So this is the incision, and then you infiltrate that because you want to see the tissue plane with the solution called Tumison solution. Okay.
What is the name of the incision?
This is a Gluck-Sorensen incision.
Okay.
So once you put a Gluck-Sorensen incision, you elevate a platysmal flap. Okay. So this is the.
Can you define that incision? Can you define that incision?
So the Gluck-Sorensen incision starts from the actually you have a Gluck-Sorensen and modified Gluck-Sorensen incision. The Gluck-Sorensen incision what we use here is from one mastoid to the other mastoid, because anytime once you open up you can see a small node, you need to do a neck dissection. So along the just over from the one mastoid to the other mastoid, like a visor flap, encircling the future tracheostome. That's your incision site. Then usually we go laterally to cut the strap muscles. Once you have cut the strap muscles, you elevate the flap. Okay. So we use a good cautery. I use Valley Lab. I keep it on the blend mode. For blend mode, we keep it around 30 to 45 watts so that it sufficiently cauterizes. Okay, so this is a classical subplatysmal plane. First, we do it with the when you elevate the flap, you should see to that you don't cut the anterior jugular vein. Okay.
So it's a subplatysmal plane above the anterior jugular vein.
Yeah, anterior jugular vein. So jugular vein will be partly above and partly below the deep fascia. So you got to be very careful. Don't cut the anterior jugular vein. Okay, you go up to the level of the you go up to the level of just above the hyoid bone. You can see one anterior jugular vein. There is a anterior jugular vein here. Right? When you start from the right side, you first ligate the omohyoid muscle. Okay?
Okay.
I don't ligate, but I just cut and cauterize. That's an omohyoid.
Okay.
Okay. So this is our skin. Sorry, there is a jumbling of this thing which you never expected to see. You make an incision. Once you see the fat, you do what is called as fat up, fat down technique. Okay. So first part of your elevation will be with your you give a traction and the counter traction. The traction is given by the surgeon and the counter traction is given by the assistant. Give some pressure, all the skin moves will stop. Then you this is the subplatysmal flap. So this is platysma. Can you see the platysma? When you cut the flap will get separated from itself.
What is the modification of Gluck-Sorensen incision?
Modified Gluck-Sorensen incision usually done for laryngectomy, where you take it from one hyoid bone to another hyoid bone.
Okay. It's all jumbled up.
Yes. Then you got to left side omohyoid is cut. Okay.
Infrahyoid dissection.
Yeah, this is an infrahyoid dissection where you cut the omohyoid, then sternohyoid, sternothyroid. once you elevate it on one side, raising on the opposite side is very easy.
Wonderful dissection. Professor Anthony, fantastic. Superb.
So first, once you open up, what you do is you open the both sides carotid sheath.
Okay.
Before dissecting the infra-iliac dissection, open the carotid sheath to look for lymph nodes from the top to the from level 2, level 3, and level 4 lymph nodes. If there's lymph nodes are there, you got to do a neck dissection.
Okay.
Okay, so once you have removed that, once you have skeletonized the strap muscles, you got to cut the inferior constrictor muscle. Inferior constrictor thyropharyngeus got to cut from the posterior border of the hyoid bone, so that posterior border of the thyroid cartilage, so that thyroid cartilage gets separated from its muscular attachment. See?
Okay. You will do it at the level of the oblique line.
Right. Yeah. I do it at the posterior border. Oblique line
Okay.
will be the attachment, but I just cut this so that I have a small stump of muscle which I use to reconstruct over the neopharynx.
Okay. So before that, will you ligate the thyroid pedicles?
Thyroid pedicles, I ligate after cutting these strap muscles.
Okay. And the step kamkila, you not showed that step. Okay, so infrahyoid dissection. First is strap muscle you have to cut. Second is you have to delineate the thyroid and you have to ligate the thyroid pedicles. In total laryngectomy, we do one side, no? On the side of the growth.
Here we will remove both sides.
Both sides we have to remove, and we have to ligate the middle thyroid vein, inferior thyroid pedicle, and superior thyroid pedicle. And then the thyroid goes along with the specimen. And then you release the inferior constrictor from the posterior border of the thyroid cartilage. Okay, then you go for suprahyoid dissection.
Yeah, then you go for a suprahyoid dissection, dissect all the suprahyoid muscles and free the hyoid bone.
Before that, will you also ligate the superior laryngeal pedicle?
Superior laryngeal pedicle should be ligated here.
Yeah.
Between the
on
of the hyoid bone and the superior on of the thyroid cartilage.
Okay. Okay.
The pedicle. So once you have done that, you enter the pharynx. Hold the, so this is the you catch hold of hyoid bone, enter the pharynx.
Okay. Where, at what level? At the level of the
just
vallicula.
Above the pre-epiglottic space. You got to be careful not to enter the pre-epiglottic space.
Okay.
Then, after that, you separate the bed.
Okay.
See, this is the tumor.
Okay.
I am seeing from the patient head, epiglottis. This is the post-cricoid area.
Okay.
You will cut here in the case of a and separate that party wall. But here you got to remove the whole of the pharynx. So you remove the pharynx from the from its bed.
Okay.
Once you have removed the pharynx from the bed, the esophagus will get separated. So what they do, they will cut and throw the larynx out. And they the esophagus stump.
So this is a total laryngectomy with total pharyngectomy.
Yeah, total pharyngectomy with the gastric pull-up.
Okay, okay,
Okay, so once you have you do what is called as handshaking. This is from
okay,
they will dissect along the esophagus and the stomach.
okay.
They will again dissect around that stomach.
So what will they do to mobilize the stomach? What are the steps?
Mobilize the stomach. Open the abdomen. See that see whether the stomach is healthy and viable.
Okay,
Okay, if it's healthy and viable, there are the days when they take out that old stomach are gone.
okay,
Three things. First thing is they can make a reverse tube.
okay,
Great curvature, they will make a tube and reverse tube, bring it to the throat and stitch, or they will make the stomach tubular so that it will not occupy too much space in the mediastinum, so that they will not have dumping syndromes and chest discomfort when the patient takes food and things like that. So
okay,
the tube stomach size. Those days they used to cut and suture and they have anastomosis and things like that. Now nothing there. They just use the ligature to just reduce that to size of the stomach and pull they will dissect around the esophagus from below and also from above. So from above finger dissection, from below finger dissection, both the fingers will join. That's called a handshake. Once they have shake all around, they will try to pass it on that there is no some soft tissue in between. When you pull it up, that will shear and cause some bleeding. So they will doubly sure, like putting a long sponge holding forceps from below upwards to see whether there is no soft tissue around that. Then pull the esophagus. So this is the stump of esophagus. Esophagus is clamped with a very heavy clamp, and then we'll pull it along.
Okay.
So the esophagus will come up, along with that stomach also will come. Then the whole esophagus has come out. This is how they are doing one from the lower down, one from the upper side. Okay. So then they will just pull it and make the anastomosis.
Lovely. Superb. I think first time many people are seeing this. Great that we have shown that. And
this is about 2.5 hours unedited video.
Superb.
For a presentation, we just cut it. Only thing I can catch now is this one.
Superb. Because they should have an idea of what we are talking. So actually the procedure is total laryngectomy, total pharyngectomy with esophagectomy with gastric pull-up.
Gastric pull-up. We'll have a single anastomosis of the stomach to the pharynx. So this is the, can you see this post-type tumor?
Yeah. Superb.
The tumor we just entered. So this is when we do a total laryngectomy, we cut along the area epiglottic fold like this.
Yes.
You make an horizontal incision and then separate larynx from the esophagus.
Okay.
Here what we do is we cut totally along. The whole thing is pharynx.
Okay.
Remove the pharynx from, say, actually this patient, this is the post-dactyl growth, which is involving the posterior pharyngeal wall also. So before you do the case, you got to see that mobility. That you can find out when you are doing a barium swallow, you go and sit there to see whether the larynx moves freely. And once you have opened the case, you open the carotid sheet to do two things. One is look for lymph nodes. Second is the adherence of the tumor to the prevertebral muscles. If it is not adherent, you can proceed. If it is adherent, you got to just close it and come out, do a palliative procedures. Okay. Then you cut that, separate instead of separating larynx from the esophagus, you are separating pharynx from the prevertebral fascia. Go to that level, you use it with the finger dissection. See?
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
at the level of cricophone, you cut and throw this out.
Okay. Okay.
Stump of esophagus so that you can't pull it along with this. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
The fascia will come out nicely with your finger dissection. At the level of tracheostomy, you just cut that and then you catch the esophagus with the abdomen and start your finger dissection.
Fantastic.
Okay, that's
Okay,
your answer.
for the viewers who are seeing, many are requesting this video. We will try to. I will get it from Professor Anthony, and I will try to post this video on my timeline. Number one, and in case you want to see a total laryngectomy with partial pharyngectomy, I think we have. I have posted personally. You can just put on YouTube laryngectomy by Janaki-Ram. You will have part 1 and part 2. That also I'll post on my timeline, so you can see, so that you can answer the questions in the examination. Thank you, Professor Anthony. We will proceed with the presentation now.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You can share your this thing. Share your screen, Lakshmi.
Dr. Lakshmi is there? Dr. Lakshmi?
Yeah, she just got logged out, sir. I don't know. She's very her internet connection is weak.
Oh my God. What to do?
I'm trying to create.
Why don't you control? Oh, but internet is weak. Okay.
The problem with Lakshmi is that she is a COVID warrior.
Okay.
She just finished her COVID duty. She's in hotel quarantine.
Okay. So she's from MMC, is it?
Yeah, she's my MMC.
Okay. Your unit, PG. Third year.
Second year.
Oh, very good. Superb. Actually, we will wait for her. If she is not presenting, Dr. Anthony, I think you got at 7:30. You have a meeting. You said you got a meeting at 7:30. So you can just briefly explain what the examiners will expect in a post. I think she has joined. Okay. Right. So, Dr. Lakshmi, please. Yazira. Everything is available on my timeline. Just go and check on my Facebook timeline. Yeah, Dr. Lakshmi, please carry on. You can start presenting, please. Dr. Lakshmi.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, Dr. Lakshmi, your internet is breaking. Actually, the voice is breaking. So, update brief. I think you can talk about the post-cricoid growth, Dr. Anthony, please.
Yeah, post-cricoid tumor is.
Yeah, Lakshmi, madam. Yeah, you are available. Yeah, carry on, madam. Dr. Lakshmi.
Share your screen.
Yeah, please share your screen and start, please. Super. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Mrs. Lockhart, a 55-year-old female, she presented with the and patient was relatively normal, and when she died, swallowed, which was increase in onset, gradually progressive, and initially for solids, later progress to solids and liquids. No specific activating or relieving factors. For the last and history of was also present. No history of hoarseness of voice, voice fatigue, change in voice. No history of associated difficulty in breathing. Sir,
It's breaking, man.
Dr. Lakshmi, can you sit close to the Wi-Fi connection?
sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yes. Now I can hear you.
So, no history of hoarseness of voice, voice fatigue, or change in voice. Not associated with difficulty in breathing or noisy breathing. No history of cough with expectoration. No history of neck movement. Coming to the past history, not a non-case of diabetes, hypertension, coronary artery disease, COPD, asthma, epilepsy, TB, hypothyroidism, or CKD. No history of any
Talk
previous
about the
ENT surgery.
Lakshmi, talk about the
Sir,
indirect laryngoscopic finding.
yes.
Hello.
I think our net is very poor, Anto.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, sorry, sir. In ideal indirect laryngoscopy, base of tongue was normal, valvula normal, epiglottis normal, and glossoepiglottic are normal. Lateral epiglottic fold appears to be normal. Lateral false chord normal. Anterior 2/3 of AE fold appears to be normal. Lateral wall of pyriform fossa was normal, and posterior pharyngeal wall was normal.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
On ideal pink proliferative growth with everted margins seen over the post-cricoid region extending laterally to the pyriform fossa on both sides and involving both arytenoids and posterior 1/3 of AE fold, obscuring the view of posterior 1/3 of vocal cord, and pooling of secretion was present. Bilateral vocal fold appears to be well. Glottic was adequate. Coming to the video, this is a video laryngoscope, ideal finding of this patient.
Okay, forget about this presentation. What are all the clinical signs of post-cricoid growth? Indirect laryngoscopy examination, can you see the growth always?
Sometimes it can be submucosal, sir.
No, generally
It may present as a
Define post-cricoid area.
Strip of mucosa lying over the posterior part of lamina of cricoid extends from arytenoids to the cricoid.
So there is a strip of mucosa. A strip of mucosa behind the posterior lamina of cricoid cartilage from the level of an arytenoid to the level of the cricopharynx. Laterally, it continues with that of the posterior pharyngeal wall. Okay, so that is the post-cricoid area. So the post-cricoid area is not seen with the indirect laryngoscopy examination always. So if only when the growth is big and it is pushing the which is coming out of a post-cricoid area, otherwise you will not see it. So what you see is there are 2-3 things you will see. That's called proptosis of the arytenoid, because the post-cricoid area occupies a space, it pushes the cricoid lamina anteriorly, which pushes up the arytenoid above. That's called proptosis of the arytenoids. And second one is you have a Jackson sign, that is a pooling of saliva in the both pyriform fossa. Okay, the third one is your laryngeal crepitus will be absent. Yesterday we discussed about the laryngeal crepitus. Laryngeal crepitus involves two components, cricovertebral click and the thyrovertebral click. Cricovertebral click will be absent in the post-cricoid growth and also in the chronic retropharyngeal abscess. So these patients, because the
Hello, sir.
Yeah, tell me. Your internal connection is very bad. We don't hear from you. So,
Anthony, you continue. You continue, Anthony.
So whenever you have whenever you have a case where there is a dysphagia is the presenting complaint, and it is along with it there is change of voice, difficulty in breathing, or patient will have absolute dysphagia. So these things they starts with the dysphagia. You always think of post-cricoid growth. When you look at the patient, you can see the growth behind the arytenoids. Or even if you don't see the growth, the proptosis of the arytenoids, there will be a pooling of saliva in the both pyriform fossa. Then when you check the laryngeal contour will be widened because it is pushing from behind. The larynx, which is like this, will get widened. It's called widening of the laryngeal contour. And then there will be an absence of laryngeal crepitus. The laryngeal crepitus has got two components. There's a thyrovertebral click and the cricovertebral click. The cricovertebral click is because of the grating of the cricoid cartilage with the body of the vertebra. The thyrovertebral click is because the posterior lamina of the thyroid cartilage grates with the transverse process of the vertebra. Okay, so unilateral absence of thyrovertebral click will be seen in pyriform fossa growth. While in a post-cricoid growth, there will be absence of both thyrovertebral and the cricovertebral clicks. So that's called the Broca's positive. The Broca's positive means there's an absence of laryngeal crepitus. So absence of laryngeal crepitus is pathological. So Broca's positive is pathological, but laryngeal crepitus present is normal. Presence of laryngeal crepitus is Broca negative. Okay, so this is
Anthony, I have a question for you.
Yes.
In exam, keep asking growth going from the pyriform sinus into the post-cricoid versus a post-cricoid growth going into the pyriform sinus. How will you differentiate?
Okay, so you start with the appearance of the growth, the main bulk of the tumor. Okay, if there is a large post-cricoid tumor and a small amount of the pyriform fossa growth either side, you call that a pyriform fossa tumor. Growth never grows in only one direction. So three things you should always think of. One is the main bulk of the tumor, where it is situated. Second one is where are all it spread. Okay, for example, a tumor which comes up to the pharyngoepiglottic fold involves the aryepiglottic fold, pyriform sinus extending to the post-cricoid. That is the pyriform fossa growth. Because when the pyriform fossa growth starts from the it don't go in only one direction. it will go to the both pyriform fossa, and the growth which goes all around up to the pharyngoepiglottic fold at one side, and just entering into the pyriform fossa to the opposite side will not happen. Okay, so the main bulk of the tumor where it is situated. Second is where are all it spread. Then what is the center of the spread? Okay, so for example, if there is both pyriform fossa is involved, then it's a post-cricoid tumor. If the patient has got a when the tumor goes up to the vallicula, then you always think of pyriform fossa, because post-cricoid growth will not go up to the vallicula. It can go, but then it go in all directions. It can go to the esophagus, it can go to the posterior pharyngeal wall, it goes to the pyriform sinus also. Okay, so this is about the post-cricoid tumor. Okay, so when you see a tumor, it's a post-cricoid tumor. So what will you do? First investigation is the X-ray soft tissue neck lateral view. In the X-ray soft tissue neck lateral view, you see the prevertebral shadow widening. So the prevertebral shadow is the shadow of tissue seen in front of the C5, C6 cervical vertebra. So usually the normal prevertebral tissue will be less than half the size of the corresponding cervical vertebra. If it is more than 3/4 size of the corresponding cervical vertebra, you always think of a prevertebral shadow widening. You understand?
Okay.
Lateral view, C5, C6, you look for widening of the prevertebral soft tissue. If the soft tissue widening is more than 2/3 of a corresponding cervical vertebra, you say the patient has got a prevertebral shadow widening. When you do a prevertebral shadow widening, you got to think of post-cricoid tumor. Then you will confirm the post-cricoid tumor with the CECT neck. Okay. Then
what are all the things you can see in a X-ray soft tissue neck lateral view?
X-ray soft tissue neck lateral view, in the case of a post-cricoid tumor, you will look at the posterior pharyngeal wall. Posterior tracheal wall. You know the trachea, the 2/3, it's covered 2/3 by a cartilaginous ring, and the posterior wall is only the fibrous layer. So you can see an indentation in the posterior wall of the trachea. Then you larynx is pushed anteriorly.
Okay.
Larynx will be pushed anteriorly, and you look for the lower extent of the growth. If the lower extent of the growth goes beyond the level of the C6 lower mark of the body of the C6 cervical vertebra, you suspect the upper esophageal involvement.
Okay.
Then a tumor which comes above the C5 level, there will be a corresponding posterior pharyngeal wall involvement. So these are all you see when you see X-ray soft tissue neck lateral view. Other thing you will see is you will look for the cartilage ossification. If there's a cartilage ossification, these are all the areas that can easily get invaded by the tumor.
Okay.
So once you make a diagnosis, you got to investigate. We told you got to investigate for geography and for the extent of the tumor and for the biopsy. So the geography usually we do it as a CECT neck and the MRI. Then you look for other areas. Nowadays, if the facility is available, ideal thing to do is the PET CT scan, which will tell you the exact extent and also talk about the secondaries and the meds. Okay, if that is not available, then you got to examine the patient chest, examine patient's abdomen, examine patient's CNS, and examine patient special organs if there is any problem, and the spinal cord, long bones, and the skull.
Okay.
You take if it's possible, you take a whole body scan, or you take a abdominal ultrasound, and you do a CECT chest, and if there is any other problem, accordingly you investigate to find out any meds are there. If there is only tumor is there, we usually pyriform fossa tumor, you don't operate segmentally because esophagus has got a segmental blood supply. You can't cut a part of esophagus and come out. The superior part of the esophagus will get supply from the inferior thyroid artery, middle part of the esophagus from the intercostal vessels, and the lower part of the esophagus from the left gastric and the right gastric artery. So you got to remove the whole of the esophagus if you are planning for a surgery for these patients. And there is more than 10 centimeters submucosal spread in the esophagus. So they will have a lot of skip lesions. So you should always examine the patient for these skip lesions at second primary. Okay. So what are the indications for surgery? If the patient is fit, then you got to do you plan surgery for following things. One is the large volume tumor, radio-recurrent growth, radio-residual growth, other types of malignancies, and then patient who has got a vocal cord fixity. Patient who has got a vocal cord fixity, you always think of, if it's possible, you do surgery, because T4A tumors like a cartilage invasion, vocal cord fixity, mobile neck nodes, or operable neck nodes, and then the patient who has got a bulky tumor. So all these patients, if a general condition is okay, then you think of surgery. Okay, so what surgery you do is usually we do a total laryngopharyngoesophageectomy with gastric pull-up. You can't do a near total laryngectomy. You can't do a partial pharyngectomy because you need a site to anastomose. So easier thing to anastomose is the upper part. So what are all the alternates with a gastric pull-up? For example, a patient who has got already underwent some gastric surgery, or a patient who has got a scar in the stomach, or the person who already underwent GJ or things like that, then you can't use stomach. Then you have an interposition. What's the difference?
Professor Anthony,
Yes.
just one question. See, the patient is having dysphagia. So before surgery, would you make him eat, and how will he get nutrition?
Yeah, nutrition, you got to do a PEG.
Okay.
Facility available, you can put an endoscope, you percutaneous endoscopic gastrostomy and feed the patient. If that is
But some say that you have to do a jejunostomy because the stomach can be used. What is your opinion about it?
that's what I said. Nowadays, you can use a tube preparation, so you can take at the place where you don't use it for the tube, or you can do a feeding jejunostomy, and even then you got to see that what you are going to do. Nowadays, you have because of an advent of microvascular free flaps, you can do a jejunal free flap. So you got to take a part of a organ which is not going to be used in the future.
Okay.
If you have see, the advantage of stomach is that it's a single anastomosis. Advantage of jejunum is that you are doing a microvascular flap. So vascularity is not a problem. So you can have a 1 or 2 anastomosis, not going to make a big difference.
Okay.
Okay. Those days we used to do colonic interposition. In colon, you can use left colon or use a middle colon, and then they'll ask you about the various blood supply, the branches of superior mesenteric artery, inferior mesenteric artery, ileocolic artery, right colic, till what right colic supplies, what till middle colic supply, and what till left colic supply. All these things they used to ask. Nowadays nobody asks because they do only stomach or jejunal flap. Okay. Then the important thing is when you do a total laryngectomy, you got to be very careful that you should not keep on removing the you can't keep on ligating all vessels indiscriminately, because you might need these vessels for microvascular anastomosis if you are planning for a microvascular free flap. Usually we use a superior thyroid artery, lingual artery, and the facial artery, and an inferior thyroid artery for a neck anastomosis. Okay. Then this is but we don't talk about 5-year survival rate because you get a depressing prognostic report. We talk more about a 2-year survival rate, and the patient can take food.
Anthony, what is the disadvantage of stomach? What is the advantage of stomach? What is the disadvantage of jejunum over the stomach? What are the advantages, disadvantages? Stomach, what are the disadvantages?
Disadvantages is the dumping syndrome.
Okay.
Second thing is it's a huge volume. It will be inside the thorax. Because of the huge volume, it can cause regurgitation, and then you get peptic ulcers. and things like that. Okay, so these are all the disadvantages. But anyway, there's only single anastomosis, though, and then anastomosis occurs in the neck. So
Okay.
even if the patient develops leak, it can be easily managed. Okay. So this is about the this one. Jejunal free flap is not the first choice. You do a jejunal free flap only when you don't do a gastric pull-up. I have done about for the past 4 years. I have done about 5 cases, and all cases we used only stomach. Our microvascular free flap is not that good, and the stomach is fine. And I have an excellent gastroenterologist, enterology the department in Stanley as well as in MMC. So we always do a stomach, and they do a good work. They use staplers, so they make a tube, bring it to the neck and anastomose. Okay.
Okay. What about what are the other things they might ask in post-record growth examiners? Other questions?
Growth examination, what are all things you see? They'll ask you Plumber-Benson syndrome. What is Patterson-Gillies syndrome? How the post-record web forms. Okay. Then how do you investigate for iron deficiency anemia, causes for iron deficiency anemia? So only tumor more common in females in the post-cricoid tumor.
Okay.
The tumors male predominance. Only in the post-cricoid area female predominance, but all the 5 cases what I have done are all female patients only.
Okay.
Then they'll ask about the nodal metastasis. Then what all the nodes you will do. You got to be very careful about the mediastinal nodes, because submucosal spread can produce mediastinal nodes also.
Okay.
Anything else?
Anything else? Hey, audience, you want any else? Why does iron deficiency cause post-cricoid web from Indu?
There is necrosis, scarring, formation produces for post-cricoid area.
Okay. My dear friends, if you have any questions, you can ask. I just want to tell you, see, just one comment. I don't know if Anthony is late. See, a good professor doesn't need a slide. Okay. If he talks, he can engage an audience. This is a clear-cut example. Even if you have an internet failure, you can, if you are very good at subject, you can keep talking and you can engage the audience. This is a clear-cut example. Professor Anthony is got the command on the subject, and that's how, you know, he engaged the audience for more than 40 minutes now. Really great, Professor Anthony. Any questions from the audience? Any questions from the audience you can ask, because Professor Anthony, now I might ask him to do again, but as of now, this is the last one. So, if you want to ask some questions, just type it, my dear friends. Just type it. Don't unmute, because it will become like a fish market. Okay, if you don't have any questions, I think Professor Anthony is around 4 minutes late to his meeting. He's got a meeting at 7:30. That's why we keep on. Oh my God! Sorry, Professor Anthony. Really, you know,
there is something called Anthony Standard Time, you know, so I'm joining a little late.
Thank you so much, Professor Anthony. Really a pleasure, and really hats off to you and your commitment. I have no words to thank you for all the 6 meetings which you conducted. I couldn't attend 2 of them, but I saw them on the Facebook. All of them are there like a golden treasure for the PGs. I think he's also doing one more program with SRMC. I heard it from Professor Anthony. And in case, can you tell the details about it, and then we'll say
tomorrow throat long case presentation from 1:45 to 3:30 in the Taxin program.
Okay, great. So thank you very much, my dear friends. It's been a pleasure to have been with you. But I just want to tell you that Harsha is leaving tomorrow to Hyderabad. I think in 2 days he's leaving Royal Pearl Hospital. And once Harsha leaves, I am left with nobody to do all the computer work. So I don't know whether I can even do a live program. So thank you, Harsha. You've been doing a great job. God bless you. I want to tell you that your hospital in Hyderabad should come up very well. So thank you, Professor Anthony. And really, I can't say God bless you. I just can wish you. I'm telling you, you are a great professor. Thank you so much. Certificate, we will try to give you all of them who have attended on the Zoom. Harsha has got it. We'll send you certificates from Royal Pearl Hospital, signed by electronic signature of Professor Anthony will be there. Thank you very much. And thanks all of you, my friends. I hope you do all the exams very well. Just see these programs again and again. Professor Anthony's questions are all like, very, very nice and standard questions. And I'm sure that you will, if you see this, it'll be like a treasure, golden treasure for you. Thank you, Professor Anthony. And you should actually, feel proud. I should feel proud that I'm your classmate. Thank you.
And congratulations to Harsha for his new project. I'm leaving. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I congratulate Lakshmi because there is a person from Stanley is supposed to present today. Suddenly he had an emergency. He got to leave Chennai because of the health of his father. So I told her to get ready, and she is immediately obliged. Thank you very much, Lakshmi.
Thank you, Dr. Lakshmi. Wonderful, but I mean, you can't help it because internet you can never be under control. But very good
It
job.
was
Well done.
breaking. That's why.
No problem. It was fantastic, Dr. Lakshmi.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. God bless you.